We are now recording the meeting, and I'd like to welcome you all to week 4 of Discovering Our True Self with Bill Walz. And Bill, thank you for being here. It's all yours.
Thank you, thank you. We've got a big title on today's presentation, The Necessity of the Spiritual and Ethical Underpinning through Awakened Consciousness that is necessary for human society to meet the challenges of the 21st century and be capable of taking us into the 22nd century and beyond. Like I said, that's a whole lot. And what I'm really going to want to do today is I'm kind of introducing a concept called analytical meditation. Question, Sally, do you have that so people are seeing me or?
Yes, everybody should see Bill. If you can see Bill, can you give us a thumbs up?
Okay, because mine has you as the centerpiece. Don't know why. Anyway, so what this is about, it's bringing a whole lot of things together. Again, so this is a meditation group. And so the question is, the topic seems to be somewhat political, historical. How do you bring meditation and a political, historical, even anthropological, the evolution of human society all together? And this brings us to quite possibly a perspective on meditation that you've not encountered before, that's referred to as analytical meditation. And this is where, sometimes referred to as bringing the whole mind to bear upon a topic, upon a concept. What this really represents is the bringing together of the intellect and the intuitive mind to be able to envision, to examine carefully, and as much as from a non-judgmental, that means we're not projecting our own beliefs onto the situation, to the circumstance, to the examination, but to be able to, and now what we're going to do, and I will with the meditation, try to give a perspective which lifts us out of our conditioning to be awareness itself that is examining a circumstance, a situation. This is sometimes referred to as the view of the gods. That if you consider what that term might mean, the view of the gods, of course, meaning the gods being kind of over and looking and responsible for human society, culture, development, but not caught within it. And so there's this sense of a view on what is happening that is dispassionate yet wise, compassionate. And so with that, let us see if we can experience a bit of what this might be. It begins with meditation just like we usually do. So if you would just settle yourself into the moment. Again, have a little bit of that sense of view of the gods or the Buddha mind. So let go of the sense that you are the you who came to this setting today, to this meeting today, and carrying with you the ideas about who you are and what the world is about. But just settle into presence, presence as awareness, presence as consciousness. Calm and focus your mind by bringing awareness to your breathing. Have a sense of the view of this body, this person that is you, sitting where you are. and begin almost having this sense of the view beginning to rise. And it's kind of a little bit of an X-ray view, so it sees right through the roof of your house and the ceiling of your room, and through the trees above or whatever. And with it, the view expands. And so it expands into your neighborhood and expands into your community, and it expands and expands and expands and expands. And maybe you have a view of this idea of demarcation of United States of America. And I want you again to have the sense that you are viewing not just the geography, but the human activity and the relationships. And this all can happen at the intuitive level. For you do have this intuitive sense of what is happening, as well as an intellectual sense that's built through information that you have gathered. And let that view continue to expand and continue to expand until there is that sense of you are viewing the planet Earth. And again, from the ability to view the planet in literal terms, you would not be able to see human interaction. But yes, intuitively, you have a sense of the human interaction, the human organization and systems, the effect of human life, human to human, human to other life species, human to the organism that is the planet. And just settle there, allowing this sense of the moment viewed. From both a vastly distant perspective and a deeply intimate perspective. A perspective of compassion, of empathy. Again, having this intuitive sense that's also resonating the emotional dimension of mind, to the condition of human society and the condition of this planet. And now let the view slowly, slowly return to the personal. Sitting here in peaceful abiding, but also giving consideration to what you have just experienced. Again, from the place of peaceful abiding and from vipassana, wisdom and insight. And breathe. And take a big inhalation and give a good exhalation. And come around. And I wonder if anybody would be willing to kind of offer what it was they saw, what it was they felt with that exploration. And be sure to unmute yourself if you wish to say something. Anybody? Again, okay, you have a sense of what you've created there. Now, I want you to now just kind of return to a bit of a meditative state. Again, close your eyes. And now I'd like you to take that scene that you experienced in the last meditation and project it. And we are perfectly capable with intuition to project and to imagine what this brings if nothing changes in the consciousness of humanity. What it brings, what does this planet, what does human society, what does American society, what does the planet look like in 100 years? And again, you have information that you've brought together about what's happening with the planet, what's happening in human society. And you also have an intuitive capacity to imagine where all this goes. And again, it is logically, where does it all go in 100 years? Okay. Now we come back again into present moment. And now I'd like you to consider, what if a movement takes hold in this country and in the world, a realization that we are on a catastrophe path. And my guess is that in your meditations now, you were able to see that we were headed on a catastrophe path. What if a movement were to take place, a movement to create a green, sustainable, equitable, just society in which the sense of our interconnectedness with each other as human beings and our interconnectedness with all of the plant and animal life of this planet, our interconnectedness with this planet, a sense, a vision, almost again, that vision of from the view of the gods, that would be able to see this earth as a living organism. And that our place on this earth might be, analogous to one of the organs of the human body. It might be, yeah, we're the brain, or, right now we're behaving as if we're the stomach, consuming. We're the mouth and the stomach, consuming everything. Let us imagine that we learn how to be the heart of this organism. And that we very much, in a sense, engage in what might be called a recovery program, recovery to our addiction to materialism, prejudice, exploitation, that we take a fearless inventory of the damage that we as a species have done. And we take a vow to make amends and develop and realize this planet, this organism, as a healthy, sustainable entity in the universe, a conscious entity in the universe where humanity has this very, very important place, but no longer the centerpiece in the way that we have the right to exploit, to use up, to dominate everything, but rather we are looking to where is our appropriate place within the web of life. And so again, then, use your capacity for intuition, for imaging, for imagination, to see what such a society might look like and what this planet might look like 100, 200 years from now, and continuing. So, here we are bringing the mind to bear upon essentially the existential dilemma, the existential challenge of humanity over the next 100 years. And we are, again, remember, as I was saying, what meditation is. Meditation is the training of the mind. Now we're training the mind to engage itself in its wholeness, to be able to have a sense of where we fit as individuals and where humanity fits within the web of life, and how we can bring our capacity for envisioning and invention into taking humanity into a next evolutionary phase. An evolutionary phase, and it's important to remember that, to realize humanity has basically been through two evolutionary phases. We are in the second evolutionary phase. The first evolutionary phase was the emergence of humanity out of and within nature. And for tens of thousands of years, humanity lived, realized itself within the web of nature. And then this faculty of the human mind for abstraction and symbolization began to create civilizations. Civilizations, societies basically being macro egos, again, separating out from nature. And so we've got then thousands of years of the karma, of the development of humanity living within these virtual realities of civilization, bringing us to where we are now. This is the second phase. So humanity within nature, humanity and civilization in essentially an antagonistic relationship with nature. And again, we can bring this intuitive sense, our own analytical, historical sense of how all of this has happened. And we can also bring our intuitive sense into this to realize, here, this is where we are. This is the dilemma we are in. This is the problem we are in. What will happen if we continue? And what is needed to alter course? What is needed for this leap of humanity into its next evolutionary phase, in which we do not discard our technology, we do not discard our civilizations, but we realize that our technology and our civilizations are completely out of balance with nature. And so our purpose then must be to reestablish, to create now a synthesis of humanity, civilized, technological, yet within and in support of nature. This will be, of course, political and economic. But I want you to also see how this is very much a spiritual and psychological journey, which is why it's completely applicable to a meditation group. As well as only through a meditation group are we beginning to expand our sense of what human mind and consciousness is about and what its purpose is. So again, we're training the mind in a more expanded view of who we are as individuals and as a collective. Can you see what effect this has not only on the collective of society, but of course, the collective of society is completely dependent upon individuals within the society revisioning themselves. Without that revisioning, of course, the revisioning of the society cannot take place. And if we are to envision and we are to manifest a society that is not based in exploitation of the earth's resources, exploitation of our fellow human beings, which of course then requires us to purge ourselves of the egoic notion that some human beings have value much greater than other human beings. Therefore, we can exploit them. Can you see where this is an expansion out of a world that is based ethically on religious morality and civil law, which are impositions of rules rather than a natural upswelling within us of an understanding, a natural instinctive understanding that our peace and our happiness individually and collectively requires what Buddhism would call a virtuous life, the development of virtue from within. That is, the experiencing viscerally, emotionally, of our own connectedness with each other, with all of life, and with the planet. And can you also envision then the effects that this has on mental health? For what is it that is the driver of the neurosis, the psychopathy that is rampant in our society, but the insecurity that develops out of a society, a culture that is based on exploitation and separateness. So again, to realize that in the training of the mind, to be able to step out of the egoic personalized view that I am separate in the world, that the world is essentially experienced and our fellow humans are essentially experienced in an adversarial and a competitive relationship. The repositioning of our sense of self into what would seem paradoxical, but is essentially the rule of life in nature, which is the celebration of diversity within unity. That it would not be some communist hell state in which everyone is being forced to accept. Again, that is the imposition of a morality, an imposition of an idea, an imposition of legal system, but rather the encouragement, the development of the internal sense, the internal realization. What do we want? What does everyone want? We want to be happy and peaceful in our lives. And the realization, because we can experience it, that happiness, that safety, that sense of well-being is really dependent not on a life built in competition and consumption, but a life that is built on harmony and connection. This is how we can engage in this sort of analytical meditation. Again, the coming together of intellect. We have this is what is so amazing about and discouraging about our time, that we have all of the information of the crisis that we are entering into, yet somehow we don't seem to be able to summon the will. We don't seem to be able to summon the courage. We don't seem to be able to summon the vision to be able to really address what we intellectually know. And it's precisely because we are not trained in our society to be able to look to deeper levels of intelligence that can help shape the information. And what I once saw the Dalai Lama refer to is that when we can bring emotion, intuition into our intellectual understanding of something, he says, then we have a real true sense of what is necessary and what is true, and that this will create what he referred to as a mental seal that can give us, can channel the energy, can channel the creative energy of us as individuals and as a community to begin walking what Buddhism would call in the path of the Dharma. What is the Dharma? The Dharma is essentially what is the truth of existence? This sense of interconnectedness, interdependence of all life, and that compassion, wisdom, virtue, to live a spiritual life rather than a religious life. And of course, what is the difference? A religious life is a set of ideas that are created at some point and given the religious seal of dogma. And then all of the energy of the religion is meant to keep all of that in place as the truth through the ages, as of course the facts of life continue to evolve. A spiritual life is to be connected into the here and now and the truth of the here and now. And this is what I believe a meditation practice can lead us to individually. And of course, very importantly, as we've talked about before, I think our entire educational system needs to be revamped around the development of the whole individual, rather than just the intellectualizing, consuming, competitive individual that our education system now shapes. So that's getting up to about our half an hour, and I wanted to get feedback from all of you, both on the experience of and what this analytical, any questions you might have about this concept of analytical meditation, and about the topic of the necessity of a spiritual and ethical awakening for human society to be able to succeed and continue into the future. Anything from anyone? Well then.
I have a reaction, Bill.
Yes, please.
I don't believe that we will succeed on that third path of evolution until we are quite literally brought to our knees, until we lose so much as a result of the current path that we really have no choice. I mean, I have a very dystopian view of what it will take to get us where we need to go.
Yeah, I want to thank you for that, because I agree with you. And everything points to that as being true. Everything points to that great movements and advancements in human culture basically come about by catastrophe. Great war, great plague, great, something has basically knocked the underpinning out from society, and then a change can be made. But exactly that, we have a choice, and we have the intellectual understanding in a way we've never had it before, that we have a choice of dystopia, and continuing the same doesn't do it. Continuing the same takes us to dystopia. We have a choice between dystopia and utopia. That's the choice that's in front of us. And if we can open, I agree, and I believe there will be a lot of catastrophe and pain before we're ready to open. But this is our point. The sooner that we are capable of opening and realizing this, this will minimize the damage and the suffering to bring us into the next age. And that, to me, is essentially the Bodhisattva path. And this is why it all ties together again in with Buddhism and meditation. So yes, thank you for sharing that, because that's basically the path. That's the fork in the road that is in front of us. And I agree, it may very well be that we are going to go through terrible, terrible destruction. And it may be that with just enough pain, again, maybe we're not the addict that has to absolutely hit bottom. Maybe we're the addict that can see what we're about to do to each other and can see the damage that we're causing to our family, that we can see the damage that we're causing, and that there can be an act of vision and will and compassion to dedicate to that recovery, to dedicate to that awakening. That is certainly my hope. And I believe that it is important for each of us to live in the optimistic view, because it is better to live in the optimistic view, and because it gives us the energy to do what we need to do. To live in the dystopian view, to live in the pessimistic view, just leaves us completely lost and without the energy to do what we need to do. So again, it becomes a choice. That's an analytical choice. The choice between optimism and pessimism. Optimism improves the quality of my life. Pessimism detracts from the quality of my life. And as the Buddha said, I only teach suffering, its origin, and the cessation of suffering. This is my only concern. What can we do to minimize the suffering that is ahead and turn the corner for humanity into a sustainable utopian, because it has to be utopian. We've reached the limits. If it is not utopian, it will destroy itself. And we're capable of this. This, I believe, is our evolutionary destiny. This is why we are here in the universe. So, anyone else? I know we're about to run out of time now.
Yeah,
I was going to respond.
Yes.
I teach meditation, and I teach it very pragmatically. And after experiencing you, I was going to suggest to the people who take my class to then take your class for those people who really like to talk about it. So I am very pragmatic. I was viewing during your meditation the old movie of the time machine with Rod, whatever his name was, and idyllic people sitting around in their sheer garments, and then the horn blows and they all go like zombies into the cave because the people who live below ground eat them.
Yes, no, that's the dystopian and view of human potential.
But I'm not one of those people who wants to just keep talking about it. I have to do something about it.
Yes,
and
do
that's
it. Do
where
it.
the hardship is.
Discover the universe and its destiny happening through you. And this is what meditation can bring us to.